Before I say anything, I will not be spoiling the plot for Sonic Frontiers whatsoever. Another thing I would like to say before I get into anything, I probably will not be playing the game or the entirety of the game for the YouTube channel yet. Maybe later when I get it on a better looking console, but I'm currently at least playing it on the Nintendo Switch. And I played like 4 hours of the game, and it is, from what I've played so far, pretty good. But why don't we get into why it's pretty good? First things first, the story. It's definitely there. It's definitely way better than what we've had for the last, I want to say, like 8 Sonic games, reasonably speaking at least. It's going pretty alright, I want to say. It's a story, it's gonna be there. It's not gonna be like, oh my god, this is the next Last of Us. It's a story, it's pretty alright. It's not very complex, but it's a pretty good one, especially seeing the fact, not a pretty good one, but a alright, it does the job, and it's not miserably bad, or just stupid like Sonic Forces, or generally any Sonic game that came before this game. It has a okay story, if you ask me, so far. I haven't beaten the game yet, so if it comes up with some sort of like plot twist, crazy story ending that's gonna make me think that this is the best game of all time, then I'm gonna say that. But for what I've played so far, I haven't seen any crazy things that would make me say that this is the best story of all time. Don't expect the plot to be the best thing you've ever seen from Sonic, and I'll tell you what, it definitely is the best one within like the last 8 games made by Sonic Team, probably. But it still isn't gonna rival God of War or anything like that. The controls are pretty alright, you know, there's nothing special. The homing attack is back on the left button, which means it does feel a little weird, but it makes sense. That's the primary attack button, and it's the only attack button. I mean, you can press other buttons to create combos, but that's basically it. The very bottom button is also the jump button, and the very right button is the slide button. The top button is the cyclone button, and the right trigger is to boost. The left trigger, I don't think that does anything besides maybe light speed dash, but that might be the left stick, I don't remember. And bumpers, they just dodge and quick step. Those are the controls. They're nothing special. Sonic's control in general is pretty alright, you know. It's probably the best he's felt in a long time for an opening area, but when it comes to playing the cyberspace levels, he doesn't feel amazing in comparison to how he felt in, let's say, for example, Sonic Generations. If you are used to how Sonic Generations feels, and you go into a Sonic Generations copy level, it will not feel the same. It'll definitely be different. And, you know, it's not terrible. The level design is quite easy in cyberspace levels, and if you're just playing on the normal path, you'll probably find all the red rings and everything like that. Also, the collectibles aren't too hard to find and too hard to get. They're just simple side missions sometimes. You don't need to deal with them all. Sometimes you might need to do a couple to progress the story and stuff like that. But like I said, nothing crazy. The game's difficulty isn't too hard from when I was playing on normal mode. I will admit the first boss fight with the health bar was extremely difficult on normal mode, or at least for me it was very annoying when I retried that thing a bunch of times. It may not be as hard for you, but for me, being an average gamer, it was still pretty difficult. I played on the Nintendo Switch, so the visuals aren't amazing, but on all platforms, they still look altogether pretty alright. The Switch version didn't look particularly terrible, but it definitely looked better than most third-party games coming out on the Switch, which, what I mean by that is what I mean by the eShop games that are coming out on the Switch. Yeah, those are pretty ugly. And by comparison, this game looks really good, although it does have an upscaling thingy that makes the resolution look higher than it is. It doesn't look good. I mean, it makes the game look a little bit more blurry than it needs to be. And you can see that this in Fortnite, if you play Fortnite on the Switch, it makes the game look blurry. Like, say for example, if you have the Pac-Man backpack or Black Bling in Fortnite, it'll look blurry, and similar stuff happens here in Sonic Frontiers, but it doesn't look as exaggerated as it does in Fortnite on the Switch. Like, say for example, there's a waterfall, you'll definitely be able to tell that is the type of stuff that you'll be looking at when you see upscaled games that aren't like perfectly upscaled, you know, whatever. It doesn't look amazing. It makes the game look more blurry, but still the game runs and looks perfectly fine. Not the best thing I've ever looked at or the best thing I've ever played, but it still looks fine. The soundtrack is very diverse from what I've played. It can go from sounding to Legend of Zelda to sounding like Forza background music to basic default desert stuff, and it's all just, you know, just the mood of the area, simple, what fits the feeling you're supposed to be having whilst playing a area, I guess. And I don't know who composed this game. I could probably check, but you know, nothing special. Back to the control, because I feel like I missed like one or two things about the control. Sonic's control, like I said, was fine, but one thing I would like to mention is the fact that I don't know if the game supports sideways Joy-Cons if you're playing on the Nintendo Switch, which is something I feel might be slightly important, but looking at it off the top of my head, I don't think it will. Here's why. First off, the game doesn't require, in fact, the game doesn't require camera control. In fact, it's pretty good at it by itself, but it definitely has it. So that is one reason why I might not be able to work with the Joy-Con. Second, there are controls that are mapped toward the triggers, all 4 triggers, so having only 2 of them wouldn't be enough. And last but definitely not least, I think the game does use both plus and minus buttons, and I also think, don't quote me on this, it might have like 1 or 2 side inputs for like menu navigation or whatever for the D-pad, and that's really it. So I don't think it'll be using the sideways Joy-Con, not yet at least. It could, I haven't tested it, but I don't think it does. The game in handheld mode also looks pretty fine, nothing special. It doesn't look any worse than it does on the TV, besides maybe having a worse resolution. I'm not entirely sure. It might have the same resolution. No matter what, it doesn't look beautiful, and my Switch speakers sound terrible. It might just be mine, I'm not sure. But when you put them at like a certain volume, like a 6 out of 10, on the Switch speakers, it'll sound so crushed and ugly and whatever. But I might just need to vacuum those out or something like that. Is there anything else I'd like to mention? I got the sub shoes. Unlike most people who played the game, I have the sub shoes, which means I'm better than you in every single way. I'm sorry, it's just true. And I'd also like to mention the fact that the game's level design overall and the cyberspace levels are completely reused, but in the open world, it feels a little interesting because it's not reaction based, it's much more semi-reaction based. Let's say, for example, you're going down a grind rail and you're supposed to jump. The game won't punish you to where you'll die if you don't jump, but it'll just set you back and make you do it again, which isn't a lot. Like, literally a 2-second activity, do it again. That's all it is. And you can always just jump off the grind rail. But another thing about the grind rail, you have a lot of control in the air. So when you're grinding on the grind rails, let's say for example, cyberspace levels, and you jump, you expect the automation to take you with you. That's how it's been throughout most Sonic games. But when it doesn't, or you just might be holding onto another direction or something like that, you'll go flying in that one direction when you're jumping in midair in a cyberspace grind rail section. Not the best I've ever played. But I might have mentioned this earlier, red rings, easy to find in the cyberspace levels. You just go, you'll come across 1 or 2 by just not paying attention and just playing the level. Not too hard. And the S ranks are actually, I think, a little bit more strict than they were before. Now, there are multiple achievements per level. Like, say, for example, you can get, like, 50 rings, or collect all the red rings and everything like that. And the S rank is just one of those achievements, which is based off of time, like the last 3 Sonic games. Not like in Unleashed in Colors, where it was based off of how well you did overall in the stage. In Sonic Frontiers, it's your time, and then there's just a couple other things, objectives that you can do. And minor side bit, I don't want to say this is a spoiler warning, it's just something you'll experience within the first couple hours of the game. You get all the Chaos Emeralds in the first island, and then you lose them all again in the second one. And I swear, if they do that every island, that's going to be miserable. I want to mention also I haven't beaten the game yet, but I've gotten somewhere in the game. Nothing crazy. I've gotten, let's say, to around the quarter point of the second island. Also, the Titan big guy bosses, or whatever they're called, aren't too difficult. You might have one or two that might be a little bit more annoying to get a hold of and deal with. None of them are going to be particularly a large problem. And another thing, every single time you're in a loading screen, there's this little practice menu. I've never heard anybody mention this. It might be only on the Switch version, but there's this practice thing. And it's so weird because, like, you're playing through the practice level and it's just throughout the loading screens. And at a certain point in time, it'll tell you, hey, you can leave. You can leave and just wait in a loading screen. But the thing is, it's just on the very corner. You're not going to really notice it. And then a little bit after that, the screen will say completed. Not whether you've completed the practice or whether you've done the mission, because there's a lot for you to do in the practice level, like a crap ton. But it just says completed. I would assume the loading screen is completed. So then I press minus on the Switch's minus, and you're back at a loading screen. I don't know what it means by completed. You gotta wait a couple extra seconds. I don't know what happens if you wait for like 2 minutes on the practice menu. I don't know if it'll ever just straight up bring you to the level or wherever you're loading to. It's still annoying, and it's kind of just a background thought that, like, oh crap, I gotta leave this so that it'll probably load quicker or whatever. Would I recommend the game? Yeah, but not over anything else. If you want a new game, but you also kind of want this, get the game you want and get this game later. If you have money burning in your pocket and you don't have anything else to spend, go ahead. It's not a last resort. It's a pretty alright game, pretty good. Nothing outstandingly amazing that's gonna blow you away. So let's say, for example, you either want to watch a movie with your friends or get this game, watch the movie. If you just have nothing to do, get this game. It's pretty good. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. Not the best game I've ever played. At the same time, not the worst. It's way better and a pretty good game. 7.5 out of 10. If it didn't have the low frame rate and the pop-in across all consoles, and it didn't have like the weird cyberspace level design, I'd probably give it a solid 8. A solid 8. But currently, I'm gonna give it a decent, not perfect, just decent 7.5. Leave your opinions on this game down below. I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good, 7.5 in my opinion at least. But yeah, if you can't get it, might as well. Screw it. Anyway guys, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.